Hi again, everyone. Welcome to our video series on positive mindset. I'm Olivia from Manchester Unity, and I'm joined again by Sofian from Shaking Minds. And today we will be talking about money in a relationship and what that looks like. So Sofian, would you like to introduce yourself again and tell us a little bit about what we'll be talking about today?
Sure, thank you, Olivia, and welcome to all the members today on this video. So one of the main things that people get in touch with me for is money. Like I coach many of my clients regarding money, but also money in the relationship. It is actually one of the biggest stressor in the relationship, and many relationships are falling apart because of money. So I thought that it would be like a great opportunity through this video to give you like more tips and advice on how to deal with money in the relationship.
Fantastic, thank you. So my first kind of query or question is, why do you think that money in a relationship can cause stress?
Well, if you have a look at the reason why people are getting divorced or couples are breaking up, basically money is actually in the top three. It is a huge debate that happens in relationship. They fall apart because they cannot be on the same page, because the two person in the relationship are not on the same page. And especially when it comes to money, we all getting that funny feeling when we start talking about money. We can start being very defensive or being very aggressive or something like this. So we all have a very intimate relationship with money in general, every single one of us. So once we start to live with someone else, and that person will have also his intimate relationship with money, we need to bring these two visions together. And unfortunately, sometimes we're not on the same page. So because we're not on the same page, we're gonna start to avoid communication about money. Don't want to talk about this, and it's gonna become like a taboo subject. In many relationships, money is a taboo subject. The issue is when it becomes a taboo subject, like you're meant to fail, because money is one of the biggest things in the relationship and in our life in general. We have to deal with money on a daily basis. So it's extremely important to talk about this, because if you're able to open the communication about money, then your relationship will get much better.
Cool. So you mentioned that the more you talk about it, the relationship's going to get better. But why else is it important to talk about money with someone you're in a relationship with?
So why is it important is the fact that when you talk to money with your partner, you actually want to talk about the relationship that you have with money. To give you a very concrete example, it's very common that in a relationship, you will have a person that will be very close to the money, that will have an eye on the budget all the time and everything, and making sure that nothing is spent unwisely. Because those type of person will actually look at the long term. They're like, no, I want to save money for my retirement. I want to make sure that I'm going to be able to have something to live with when I get older and something like this. So they see the long term. Great. On the other hand, the other partner could be the opposite. The other partner could be like, well, you know what? I'm not that interested in the long term. I'm not thinking long term. I'm thinking more about short term. And for me, short term is I want to be able to go out. I want to be able to have like a nice dinner in this fancy hotel. I want to be able to travel around the world and that type of thing. So if you prefer, one extreme is going to like kind of really look at the budget, while the other one is going to be spending. None of them are right or wrong. This is the truth about this, is the fact that none of them are right or wrong. But from one extreme looking at the other, it looks like it's wrong. And this is where the whole friction and the stress starts to happen into the relationship, is the fact that the couple cannot acknowledge this fundamental difference between the relationship that both of them have with money. So when you have one that spends a lot of money and one that wants to think about long term, then these two are definitely going to clash. And this is where you definitely need to have communication. Sometimes some couples, both of them are straight away on the same page, and this is brilliant. And those relationships in general last longer, because they know how to deal with money together, because they have the same mindset regarding money. So it's quite an easy task. But when you don't, you need to engage the conversation.
Okay, so for the people who perhaps are on different pages about the money situation, how can that conversation begin? What is the first step to take when discussing money?
So I'm just gonna throw you back a little bit to what we talked before in the previous video, and I'm gonna pick on the video about awareness. Right there, what you want to call on is your awareness, your ability to recognize how you process things, and specifically your relationship with money. So here you want to develop your awareness about how do you spend money. And so what you can do is, like, you need to have a look at how you've been spending money over the last month, over the last week, over the last day, over the last year, maybe something like this, but really trying to keep track of your record. And so it's up to you to go really hardcore or to go more in a gentle way or whatever. But the idea is to be honest with yourself, like really, really honest with yourself, and to say, the money that I spent, what is it that is essential to my life? And what is it that is not essential to my life? So if you prefer, it's like, okay, paying the rent or paying my mortgage is something essential, right? Going out for dinner is something that is non-essential. Okay, it's just as simple as this. So paying the bills, the phone bills and that type of thing, yep, that's something that is essential. Going on a holiday, that's something that is non-essential. Although there is a benefit to go on holidays because it's going to work on your positive mindset and all of that, and we're going to talk about this later, it's not something that is essential, and you need to recognize that, okay? Then you need to have a look of, when you're about to spend money on something, what is your thought process? For example, if you're looking for the next holiday where you're going to go, how do you base your budget? How do you look at where you're going to go? Are you calculating your budget first and then you're going to find the place where you're going to go? Or are you looking at the place where you're going to go and then you tell yourself, I'm going to figure out the budget later? So in one situation, you create the space for the money to be here. In the other situation, you put the money there and you'll go with the thing. So it's a very different way to deal with the money. But also, like I said, for example, when you talk about the two extreme, are you thinking about the short term or are you thinking about the long term? Are you thinking maybe about both of them? So it's really for you to be honest with yourself and have a look at, how do you deal with money in general? Are you, when you have money, are you spending it just like that? Or are you more like saving this? So first you need to acknowledge this at a personal level. Once you have acknowledged this, then you need to engage the conversation with your partner to see how they engage with money on themselves. Once both of you acknowledge the way that both of you are dealing with money, and by the way, because you're in a relationship, your partner will say, oh yeah, you deal with money this way. And you're going to be able to tell your partner, oh, but you deal with money in this way. And this is where there's a bit of tension right here. So it has to stay a conversation very neutral, because although that conversation could be challenging, the purpose of it is to find a common goal. The purpose of it is to find a strategy for both of you that will work. Because if you're in a relationship, your idea is to be in the relationship for the long term. So here you want to benefit your relationship and reduce the stress in the relationship. So here you have to stay open-minded and stay in a mindset where you're like, okay, there might be a bit of criticism and all of that, but the idea is to focus on how can we move forward with the positive and the negative.
Right. Is there a right time to start this conversation with the person that you're in a relationship with, or does it have to get to almost breaking point where you're on two different pages? Or can it also start earlier on in the relationship? Like, is there a right time to initiate the conversation on money with the person you're in a relationship with?
I think it all depends at the speed where the relationship goes. Okay, if you're in a relationship, a long-term relationship with someone, then you want to make sure that the conversation happens as early as possible. Now, if you're single, you start to be on the dating scene, you don't want to start talking about money the first night, right? That's a little bit awkward. So you want to engage that conversation as early as possible, especially if you're looking at a serious relationship. You want to be able to have that as quickly as possible. Now, when people come to see me, they've been in relationship for quite a long time. So basically, I'm like, you have to start to talk about it now. even if you think that everything is going well and everything is going fine, you better talk about it now, because there might be a lot of things that are not said. So the earlier you engage the conversation, the better it is.